All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here reading our preview and prediction for the Frisco Bowl, Boise State, and North Texas. Broncos 10-point favorites, Saturday, December 17th, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas is the site of this one. All-time series history, tied 3-3, last meeting in 2000. Looking at the North Texas offense, Nick, Seth Luttrell gets the axe after the CSUA title game. We'll talk about that here in a second. But this is still an offense that's really good. Austin Ani, I believe he's 28, 29 years old. He's been around a long time. 57% completion rate, 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 13 picks. So he was able to put up some good numbers despite not being very accurate or tall in the pocket. I think the biggest part about this offense is they're incredibly deep at running back. They got numerous guys with 500-plus yards, three of them to be exact. Oscar Attaway, Ikea Ragsdale, Ayo Ayadi leads the way with 740 and 4 touchdowns and only 98 attempts. This is a very efficient and effective backfield. They are a little beat up a few weeks here to get healthy, though, before they take on the Broncos. And they have a great pass catcher in Roderick Burns, 37 grabs, 650 yards, and a touchdown. We'll see what happens with this team in the coming weeks before the, Luttrell being gone. Will some of these guys hit the portal? Likely so. But I expect the bulk of this offense to stick around. That also includes Jair Shorter, 22 grabs, 598 yards, 27 yards per catch with 10 touchdowns. He's that big guy downfield, only 2 grabs per contest, but when he catches the ball, he makes it count.
This is a good offense. I like the speed they play at. Quarterback play, it's not very accurate, but 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions for Ayun. It's not bad. Over 3,000 yards on the season. I like what they have wide receiver. I know Shorter doesn't get a whole lot of touches, only 22 receptions on the season, but 27.2 yards per catch plus the 10 scores is a ridiculous number for him. Also, the tight end play is not bad. Gums as well. He has 450 yards receiving and the 5 scores for him at tight end. Roderick Burns, solid wide receiver, 17.6 yards per catch, 650 on the season. He only has 1 score. I'd like to see him potentially be targeted more in the red zone. I like these running backs. They spread the wealth out well. You got 3 guys here with almost 100 touches per on the season. ID has just under 100 touches. He has 98. But Ragsdale, Attaway have 118 for Attaway, 121 for Ragsdale. I like the balance here. They all have 4 to 5 touchdowns on the season, so it's a lot of balance, good balance. This offense puts up a lot of points. They're 33.9 per game, plus 463 total yards of offense per game, which is an incredible number for this high-paced offense. I think a lot of it comes down to the play calling by the coaching. Of course, now the coach leaves, he will be a great play caller somewhere. But certainly this offense has been good this season. I like the way they produce and put up points.
After 7 years, it was probably certainly the right move. I think his record was even 44-44 after 7 years. Did make the CUSA title game, kind of a down year for the conference. You think this was the right move before the bowl game to get rid of the head coach?
I certainly think it's an interesting move. I think it kind of symbolizes that North Texas is not happy with making bowl games and losing them. He had a bad postseason record, losing a few bowl games the last couple of seasons. I think it's impressive to make your conference title game. I know 7-6, not the best record. You're right, the conference having a down year. I think the move might have been a little bit too early, might have been a year too early. But it's clear North Texas thinks they can contend, and this is a move they're making in order to contend better in the CUSA.
Also, a pretty good offensive line for this football team, led by Gabe Blair up front. Looking at Boise State offense, kind of a resurgent year for this unit because for many years they were known for like a decade straight. They had a 1,000-yard rusher, and George Haloney for the last couple of years really struggled. But this year they got back to dominating on the ground, 187 yards per game, 4.85 yards per carry as a team. Haloney, 1,133 yards, 10 touchdowns. Ashton Yanti, a freshman, 643 and 6 touchdowns. Then Taylon Green, the quarterback, who's going to be a heck of a draft prospect, I think, down the line. 467 yards, rushing and 8 touchdowns, 6'6", 220. And this kid has speed, Nick. 1,900 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 picks. Not the most efficient or effective passer, but he does a great job of what is, really a 3-headed monster in the backfield.
Certainly is a good offense here with the sort of variety they have in the play calling. Green's a good quarterback and a better runner. The numbers on the ground are impressive. 6.8 yards per carry plus the 8 score stream. He's a 91-yard carry as well at some point in the season. He's a great quarterback. He's got to polish the throwing a little bit. 61% completion percentage is not bad. Got to cut down the turnovers. 13 touchdowns is not bad through the air either. Haloney, leading the way. Incredible back, power back. Love the speed on him. 1,100 yards in the season, 5.3 yards per carry plus the 10 scores. Gentry as well, had 643 yards on the ground, 5 yards per carry, and 6 scores for him. This is a great offense that can really hit you on the ground a whole lot, kind of back to what they used to do. I love this offense in terms of what they can do on the ground. 187 yards per game on the ground, 29.1 points per game this season. This is a good offense that has a decent wide receiving core as well.
Yeah, Stephon Cobb's a veteran. It's been around a long time. Billy Bowens, he's not been as productive throughout his career, but he is the second leading team pass catcher, 30 grabs, 449 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Then Latrell Caples, 45 grabs, 462, and another 4 scores for him. overall, this is pretty sound offense for Boise State. They've certainly got back to getting things done this year, and that's, of course, one of the nation's best offensive lines, one of the better ones, rather, in all of college football. And they're going to be facing North Texas defense, Nick, that's not great one bit. Of course, they score a lot of points. They always have done that, but the defense has just not been able to really live up to it. I think they got great individual players, though, on this side of the ball. Always have. They had Grayson and Gabriel Murphy, two edge rushers that went to UCLA and were big-time impacts for the Bruins. So, impact players have never been lacking here, but just playing collective defense has certainly been a struggle. 31.5 points per game, 460 yards per contest. Not that great against the pass. Not good at all. Almost 190 yards per game on the ground also. 124th in total defense. Katie Davis, he's great. 132 tackles. Richards, he's one of their top playmakers in the backfield. 12.5 TFL, 7.5 sacks. Mason Richards. Also got two great corners. Deshaun Gady, 11 pass breakups. Ridge Texada, 15 pass breakups of his own. Having strong seasons out there on the edge. But again, 115th against the pass, Nick. They do have 27 sacks on the year, which is one of the better numbers. It's probably towards the top of the conference. But for the most part, this is not really a great defense. But again, still some strong players that really step up and change this thing.
There is some individual talent on this defense for sure. I just think the numbers are a little disappointing. 31.5 points allowed per game, 460.2 yards per game allowed, 271.7 yards allowed per game passing. They get beat through the air bad a lot of situations, which is kind of shocking considering they have solid defensive backs. I think Gideon Brown are solid, defensive backs. These guys are decent numbers. They put up potential here. Texada as well, 15 pass breakups, 3 interceptions for him. I'm just a little disappointed they seem to continue to struggle against the pass. Katie Davis is a great linebacker, leading the way of 134 tackles, plus the sack on the season for him and an interception. He's a great linebacker, great leader. Richards, the 7.5 sacks, 77 total tackles, very impressive. Larry Nixon as well. He's got 94 tackles, getting close to 100 there with the sack on the season. This is not a bad defense in terms of the talent. They just cannot seem to produce together, and they get beat badly. It hasn't really been much of an issue because they do score a ton of points, and they've been outscoring their opponents when necessary, but they give up a lot of big plays, a lot of big yardage, and they find themselves in trouble.
Looking at the Boise State defense, 18.5 points per game allowed, 281 yards per contest. Very strong run defense. Ezekiel Noah at linebacker, he's been an elite defender. 8 TFL for him, 4.5 sacks. He's been great in coverage when he drops back. 53 tackles on the year, 3 forced fumbles. He's their leader in the middle, and they got a lot of this team that's full of seniors, full of leadership. You look up front, Scott Matlock, he's been around a long time. He's a good run stuffer up front. Divine Abachir, 6.5 TFL. DJ Schramm, another linebacker, leads the team with 11.5 TFL. There's some good production, top to bottom on this unit. Dimitri Washington off the edge, and then JL Skinner, guys really lifted up a lot of draft boards this year. 4 picks for him. He's also got 62 tackles. This is a defense, Nick, that's obviously really good. 13 picks on the year as a team. They make good plays in all 3 levels of the field. What is your thoughts on this Boise State defense? Kind of a resurgent year for this unit, much like the offense.
I do like this defense a lot. They have improved. 18.5 points allowed per game, 281 yards per game allowed. The rushing total is fantastic, 120 yards allowed per game. I like Washington coming off the edge, 4.5 sacks, 35 total tackles for him. Solid season for him. Skinner really impressing me. He's continuing to fly up draft boards, like you said. Fantastic player, 4 interceptions on the season. Look at a guy like Rodney Robinson as well, 42 total tackles on the season, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups. He's a good guy to have in your secondary. Ezekiel Noah, the 4.5 sacks is fantastic. DJ Sharam, leading the way with 97 tackles plus a half a sack for him. This is a good defense. They get after the quarterback. They get some sacks when they're necessary, and they also grab some picks with some of their leaders individual way. Especially, Gabe Hunter's a guy towards the bottom in terms of tackles with 12, but he has 2 picks on the season as well. So they got a lot of variety here. They got a lot of different ways they kind of scheme their defense and make big plays. And I think this defense has certainly improved a whole lot, and it's getting better and better as the season goes on. It's a very impressive defense in the Mountain West.
It was a good defense last year, I should clarify, but it seems like they're playing better, more complimentary football this season. Final thoughts on the prediction here on the Frisco Bowl. Keys to the game. I think for UNT, you're going to have to force some turnovers, steal some from the Broncos, and then because I think you're going to score. That's how good this offense is. Find a way to get Boise's defense off balance, though. I think for Boise State, just run the ball, with that 3-headed monster, Gianti, Haloni, and Taylor Green. And I think find some shots downfield to kind of loosen up the secondary. And then just play rock solid defense up front because UNT, they're going to want to run the football. They do great work through the air, but sometimes that passing attack certainly lacks consistency, especially with, a 57% completion rate from their quarterback. I think Boise State's going to win this one. I think they're going to be able to cover quite well. I just think the ground game's going to be too much. I think their defense is going to get more than enough stops, kind of like last week against UTSA that the offense was hanging in there, but the defense was not playing too well. And then when the offense stalled out, the game was over. So Boise State to cover. You're thinking the same thing, but with a little bit less of a score.
Yeah, I like Boise State to cover the 10-point spread in this game. I think the talent on offense is just a little too much, and I think that the defense kind of compensates for what the UNT defense can't do. I think this Boise State team will find a way to score points. I got them scoring 28 points. If they run the ball, they find some shots deep downfield, and they have some serious success here. I don't think UNT is a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. I think that certainly this game could be a high-scoring affair. It certainly is possible. There's a lot of points scored in this one. I just like Boise State here. I think they're just a well-rounded team, a little bit better overall. I think they have the talent to kind of compensate on defense, and they work better as a collective unit. So I'm going to take Boise State in this one, but I think this is an interesting matchup between two group of 5 teams. I like the balance here. I like the offense, as both offenses are very talented. They put up a lot of points. Can Boise State's defense be the one that withholds and wins the game for them?
Higher confidence points on this one, or your potential upset with Boise State kind of going to enemy territory here in Texas?
I'm going to sit towards the middle on the confidence point because, like you said, this is in Texas. I expect the fans at North Texas to travel well. Frisco Bowl, not too far away. So I would put this kind of in the middle range. I don't think UNT is going to win, but I also wouldn't be totally shocked. I don't want to throw a lot of points on Boise State. I think there's just better opportunities to throw points on than this one. So it's going to kind of lean towards the middle for me.
Yeah, can't disagree with you too much on that one. That's going to be it for today's episode, Nick. And like you said, not too far. Denton is only 35 minutes from Frisco, so I definitely think there's going to be a big home field advantage. So I could totally see that. So maybe be on the more cautious side of things. That's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Nick, thank you for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an exciting matchup, a close game potentially. I like the balance here, and I'm excited to see how this plays out.
That's going to be it for today's episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.